At its core, I think I always knew I wanted to direct. Very early on, I started by sort of doing as many different placements as I could. I directed my first show at university.
Was it a success?
Mac and Mabel. Oh, I was the worst director ever at university. I was a tyrant.
What is the difference between an associate and a director? Is there very different roles?
As an associate, your primary function is to support the show and to support the director. The only thing they need to focus on is the work and the art. I remember the first preview of Book of Dust when the real baby came out, and the audience went nuts.
Welcome to the Bridge Theatre podcast, where we're going to meet the people who make the magic happen. On stage, backstage, and everywhere in between. We'll find out where their passion for theatre started, the moments that made them, and even what their fantasy production would be. I'm Pauline Fallowell, your host, so get comfy and we'll get started. In this week's episode, we're talking to Lily Dyble. She's had many different roles within theatre and is currently an assistant director. I'm looking forward to talking to her about her journey and how she's got where she is and where she wants to go to next. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for joining when I know you're in a really busy phase as well.
It's quite busy. We're in the middle of tech, but it's okay.
But not even for this show. This is the mad thing. We've not got you this time.
In tech for the producers, which is going into the Garrick in the West End. So yeah, busy time.
Saying that you're doing that, what is your role in theatre? I mean, actually, you've had a few roles in theatre because you've worked here a few times, but in different guises. Do you want to talk about what your current role is and actually maybe do a bit of background on what you've also done at the Bridge?
Yeah. So I'm a director and I work pretty broadly as a director. So I work across sort of plays and musicals. Used to do a bit of opera, but not so much now. So my role on the producers and my main role here at the Bridge has been as an associate director. So as the associate director here on Richard II, and then before that on Guys and Dolls. And then before that, which was my first job here, I was actually an associate lighting designer to John Clark on La Belle Sauvage, which not many people know. I keep that one quite quiet, so but you know. No, not at all.
I love it as like a routine because it is just sort of like, and also amazing to have that skill set when you're directing. You kind of need to know, well, I'm assuming you need to know how everything works to bring it together.
Yeah, I mean, I feel really fortunate for the sort of pathway that I had. I mean, I had quite a circuitous route into directing. And I think at its core, I think I always knew I wanted to direct. And I think the path that I took, there was like two angles to it. I did feel like there was a gap in my knowledge sort of about how the whole process worked in its entirety. And also I was just really interested in that. And I think I was also always really interested in scale and working at scale. And I definitely found when I was much younger, especially, if I was at school or university, like the directors who I wanted to watch and learn from weren't necessarily going to let me in the room at that age. So I just wrote to everyone. I wrote to sort of stage managers and lighting designers and sound designers. And very early on, I started by sort of doing as many different placements as I could. And then I was very fortunate to meet John Clark, who was exceptionally kind to me. And I did quite a few placements with him, and then eventually did the Book of Dust here with him as his associate. And that knowledge was invaluable, really. And I think so much of your job as a director with, working with a creative team is also like making sure that those people have what they need in order to do their jobs, to the best of their ability. And I think I was just always so interested in this, I guess, in all of the different like channels of communication, really. And I think I did work really broadly, and that I think gave me a shared language with other departments, which I think is like so helpful also when you're an associate, because so much of being an associate is being able to traverse like across those boundaries, really.
I was going to ask you, what is the difference between an associate and a director? Is there very different roles?
Yeah, it's a really good question. It is very different. I would say as an associate, your primary function is to support the show and to support the director. And I think the role of the associate looks really different depending on what show you're on, and also like who your director is. And that, essentially I always think like the primary function of my role is to shield and support the director. And like often that means keeping things off of their plates and just like dealing with something yourself. Often it's like you're the filtration process as the associate. Like you're the person that basically is making sure that director, the only thing they need to focus on is the work and the art, and allowing their artistry to be at the center of the process rather than the pragmatics. So I think as an associate, you need to have a very creative approach to practicality. So often it means that you're absorbing things like costume tracks and quick changes, and liaising with wigs or liaising with the DSM if you're, queuing something.
DSM is the deputy stage manager.
So you're kind of like, you're floating around and you're absorbing all of these different things, and ultimately you're just making sure that whoever you're assisting or being an associate to can just get on with their job, basically. I don't know if I've described that very well.
No, you have. Like, it is that support role. And I guess, do you actually learn to do that, or do you just learn on the job?
It's a bit of both. Again, that's why I was so lucky to be in those rooms early on in a different capacity, because also like I got to watch other people do it. I got to watch people like, even at the Bridge, on Book of Dust, watched Emily Burns do it and James Cousins do it. And I got to learn from those people, even just from like an observational standpoint. And you scale up. I think you start assisting on smaller work, and you don't go straight in at the National or something like that, basically.
That'd be terrifying.
It would be terrifying. But I think you kind of learn. I always think of assisting as you're kind of like a surgical assistant. Like you're the person that's holding all of the tools, and you have to hand over the right tool at the right angle at exactly the right moment. Right. And I think like so much of the job is sensitivity and dexterity and being able to be flexible around someone who's also like doing an extremely pressurized job. I think, and it's easy sometimes as an assistant or as an associate to be like over eager to want to be directing your own shows, but there's a huge amount of shelter afforded to you when you get to watch someone like Nick Heitner or Joe Mantello, or you get to watch them work, but you also get to appreciate the fact that like I don't know if it's relevant to say, but as an associate, I think you can't begin to imagine the pressure that person is under. Yeah. So like so much of the job is also trying to give them as much grace and support as you can. And sometimes that looks like running dry tech for 4 hours. And sometimes that looks like putting a Diet Coke on their desk when they need it. So like, I think, and I love that. It's also like a huge honor in lots of ways. Like, it's a very vulnerable and private like relationship as well, when the relationship is right and the chemistry is good. So
there's a lot of trust. I feel like the more I talk to people, like trust is such a key thing in theatre, isn't it? Just to come together as a unit.
It is. Yeah, no, it is about trust. And I think that's one of the really gorgeous things as well about being a director, is that you're assembling teams who you will work with for years. And that's the other thing as an associate, is that you're watching these teams that have this shared language, but also just have a longevity as friends as well as colleagues, And I think that's the really exciting point that I feel like I'm at in my career at the moment, where it's like, there's a couple of colleagues where it's like, we've got a couple of shows under our belts, and there's that excitement of being like, doing it with other people. I think that's the thing I love most about my job.
Like people come up together, don't they? Which is the really lovely thing. Like I've seen, as you say, like you started and saw James Cousins, and then you and James Cousins have done like stuff together now, and like come up together and poked each other to encourage each other to do things. It's really nice when that happens.
No, it is. And I think everyone works differently, but for me, the thing that I love big buildings and I love scale, because I love that feeling of being a small part of something so much bigger than yourself. I think that's the thing that I love, really. And I just did my first show at the National, which was amazing. But one of the things I loved about that is that, like, you were tiny. There's so much else going on, and it's amazing, and it's a real privilege to get to be like a little part of that.
You can easily get lost in those corridors right behind.
Yes.
I'm always like, where am I?
I'm always orientated around the canteen, basically. I was so overexcited by the canteen.
It is incredible to have a canteen in a theatre.
It's a game changer, but it's also, again, it's a game changer because it's also that
never
thing
leave.
of, you never leave, but also that's the point. In lots of ways, it's like, one of the things I'm also really interested in is like, how do we set up buildings to structure and support the work?
Yeah,
it's like, one of the things there is you're able to put the work at the center of everything, because you know that if you only have 15 minutes on a dinner break, you can go and get a plate of hot food. So like, it was the first tech where I was like, oh my God, I ate every day. So yeah, I think those things are also really interesting, and like, yeah, how do we support the work and how do we support each other whilst making it, you know?
I mean, this passion is incredible, but it must have come from somewhere. Like, rewinding, what was your very first touch point on theatre?
I mean, it's a good question. The first show I remember seeing was, I went to see The King and I. I'm from Manchester. I went to see The King and I at the Manchester Palace Theatre. I don't remember saying this, but my mum does remember. Apparently, I was very worried that there wasn't going to be any singing in it. And my mum had to keep reassuring me that there would be singing. Yep. And I remember that. I just remember there being a ship on stage, like it opens with the ship, and I just remember like sort of sitting at the back and just being so excited by that. So I think that was my first touch point.
Do you know how old you were?
I was probably about 4. I was quite little.
That's really young to see something like The King and I feel.
But I think, I mean, that was one of the mad things about like working with Arlene Phillips and stuff on this, is that like when I was little, like I had a video of Annie that I wore out because I played it so many times. Like I used to get the pots and pans out and play like It's a Hard Knock Life in the kitchen. My mum was so patient. So yeah, I was really lucky. I had parents who were really supportive, like, neither of them work in the arts, but they were like hugely supportive. And I think as well, growing up in Manchester, like I was so lucky. I went to a state school that gave like free music lessons and had an amazing brass band and things like the Halle Youth Choir. I did, yeah, I played the trombone actually.
Oh, amazing. I did not know that, that's fun.
Yeah, and like the Halle Youth Choir in Manchester, and like actually these organisations that were free. So I think that was the other thing that I was really lucky, is that I had supportive parents, but also like I had opportunities and access, even if I like couldn't necessarily afford those things.
And did you love it? Did you love playing?
Yeah, I did.
Did you love being on stage or performing?
Yeah, I did. And I went to dance school and I sang, and I thought, I mean, to be honest, I thought I was going to be a performer. I thought that's what I was going to do. Yeah, I didn't really know what I wanted to do for a while. And even when I left school and I studied theatre at Bristol University, and I still didn't really know. And I was kind of in shows for the first year, and I was still doing like placements in theatre and placements in lighting or whatever, but still didn't quite know I wanted to be a director. And then I directed my first show at university.
What was it?
It was Mac and Mabel, which is an amazing show in lots of ways.
That's not been done for years, has it?
Well, the problem is, I mean, like Jerry Herman's scores are just amazing, like incredible, but the book is fundamentally flawed with Mac and Mabel. So if you could like rip up the book and rewrite the book, it'd be amazing.
There we go, that's a challenge.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, so I kind of, not that I fell into it, but for a while I worked really broadly, and then when I kind of found that, I was like, oh, this is what I'm meant to be doing.
Yeah. That's so fun.
But yeah.
Was it a success?
Mac and Mabel? Oh, I was the worst director ever at university. I was a tyrant. I feel like I made every mistake there is to make with like one show.
Wow.
Yeah. I very much was like, the show is the most important thing in the entire world. Anyone who differs from that view.
Did you fall out with a few people?
I think I did, which is actually really unlikely. I was
going to say, I can't imagine it.
I know. Yeah, I didn't have any perspective at all, I think, when I was at university. And I think like now I do, but in a much healthier way, in that like, and it's a balance, isn't it? Because you want to make the best show, the best art that you possibly can, but also like people are people. And I think the idea that you leave stuff outside of the room it's not always feasible. And that's also the other thing as an associate, so that sometimes you're the one that's like, actually, the director's like, why is this person not getting it today? And you're like, well, actually they missed 2 buses and they've had a nightmare commute in and they're just a bit scrambled, like send them off to have a cup of tea and they'll come back and they'll be better. So yeah, so no, university, Lily, terrible director. Awful.
That's the place to learn these things, isn't it? And actually the fact you still loved it and then still wanted to do it.
Oh, it's
just
amazing.
shows that there was something there.
Yeah, and also at uni it's great because it's like, and also I was really lucky at Bristol. Like the standard at Bristol was actually really high, and I was in a cohort of lots of people now who would, and that's the other thing about saying about rising up with people. Like I was in a cohort of very talented people, you know, and you know, some amazing actors like Lizzie Annis. We were at uni together, and Jude Mack, and so the standard was really high. But also you had we had a full orchestra, and that was the thing, is that I was like, I only want to do Jerry Herman if we can have like a massive brass section, basically. So
that was been fun. Also great to learn about, because like there's directing a play and then there's directing a musical, as you said, there's like that extra element of an orchestra and having an MD, a musical director and everything. And did you have a musical director?
Yeah. No, and I think that's the thing that I love working broadly, but I know for me, like the undercurrent to sort of like my life and the work that I want to make is music. Yeah. Like I think that's the thing for me. Like I'm a very like interdisciplinary artist, and so I love musicals, but also I find like the plays that I'm most drawn to are those that sort of like center sort of or are carried by music, really. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, coming on to like what you'd like to do.
Oh God.
Do you have a like fantasy production that you'd love to put on? If you're like future Lily, like was given whatever venue you like, in however form you like, if someone just went, here you go, what would you do? I'm guessing you direct.
I would direct. It's such a good question. I thought about that. I saw you were going to ask me that, and I thought, oh no, like what am I going to say? It's impossible because there are so many. Yeah, true. I think the thing that I was thinking about.
I mean, you could make up a new one.
Well, you could make up a new one, but I feel like, so my answer, I feel like reveals the fact that I'm like incredibly uncool, because I could be like, you know, I'd like to put like Beyonce and Amadeus or something like that, and it's not that. I think my answer is so dry. I think what I would do, and it's a really niche answer, I would want to turn a sea symphony, which is a massive choral work by Vaughan Williams, into a ballet.
Cool.
Yeah, that's what I'd want to do. I mean, it's this amazing piece of music that I first came across it actually when I was in the Halle Youth Choir. I did it twice. I did it with the Halle Youth Choir and then at the BBC Proms with their youth chorus. And it's this amazing piece of music set to Walt Whitman poetry, and it uses this sort of voyage of a ship, but really it's about the journey of the soul. That's what it's about. So I'd want to do it as a ballet, and I'd want James Cousins to choreograph it.
Yeah, very good.
And I'd actually want, and this one of the things that's nice is that I think it intersects with lots of things that have like brought me to where I am now. But I'd want to do it as sort of a big sort of video production, like immersive experience. I hate the word immersive. I can't believe I put the word immersive in.
But immersive is that kind of like, it's almost like opera now, isn't it? It's like musicals. There's so many different types that you almost need to go, it's kind of immersive, let's subcategory it with like how it actually is.
Well, I think what I mean by that is like Luke Halls, who did all the video mapping for Book of Dust. I basically want to do something like that with it. And I think it has to be fantasy because the scale of it is huge. Like to do it with like a full symphony orchestra, full choir, plus like company of dancers, like you'd have to, the scale is enormous, you know, it's a massive scale. But yeah, again, I think it's just something that like draws upon so many areas that sort of I've come from, but also I know like the thing that also I really enjoy and the thing I think I'm really good at is like translation and adaptation. I think that's something and it's the same with theatre, like basically most of the projects on the rap sheet that I want to do are adaptations, and I feel like Sea Symphony kind of slots into that. But yeah, it's amazing. You should listen to it. It's really great.
I'm literally going to go and do this.
I've now revealed that I'm very uncool in my answer.
But I think there's something really creative about taking something that, I mean, you're deeming it uncool, but I can already visualize how cool it could look because you've kind of taken something, and it's amazing how you can then add creativity to just like explode it.
Yeah, and the text anyway, the text is amazing, and the imagery of the text is incredible, and it is this really dramatic like voyage basically that this huge ship goes on, and it, you know, the ending is so beautiful. It just goes on. It's so ethereal, and I think that's the thing. It's like so much of this material is so spiritual in a way that, like, you know, you access the realm that you can't articulate, which is for me what another reason why for me it lends itself so well to being like a piece of dance. You know.
Where would you put this on? Because it's massive scale.
It's
I was
huge.
like, do you have a...
You know what? I've also I've been through it in my head. I'm like, do you do it somewhere like the Opera House where it can be like end on, so you can like do the mapping like that? Like, do you do so at like the Albert Hall, but then you could only project onto the floor, which means not everyone would
Albert
see
Hall,
it.
but maybe you need to put screens.
Like, you know, what's it called? There's an amazing new venue in Manchester that Hamlet Hail to the Thief was just at. Oh, what's it called?
It's not the AO Arena.
It's huge. No. It's like this massive warehouse, basically.
Warehouse would be cool.
I've now forgotten the name of it.
Oh, that warehouse would be fun, because also then you could like go into would you make people go into the world in that way?
Yeah, I think so. I think you could stand. I think you could sit. Like, it's not super long, or maybe you do a cut, or you know, you do a different treatment of it or whatever.
What are the costumes? I feel like the dancers' costumes would be beautiful.
I'm handing over to James Cousins in that one.
Oh, really? Because you'd want them to move. I mean, he's good with that sort of stuff. You want them to be able to move in them, but have the shaping and the...
Yeah, I think
Yeah, that's... I mean, how do you think audiences would react to it? How would you want the audience to react to it? Do you have to think of that as a director? Like, what am I making the audience feel or take away?
100%. Yeah, and I think the directors who are the best are the ones that put that at the centre. Like Nick's eye is always on the audience. Always. He's really, really good at that. And I think, I feel like if you divorce your art from your audience, then there's absolutely no point. Like, it becomes the most self-indulgent thing in the entire world, which is also kind of why my answer is a fantasy, because I'm like turning this really sort of obscure choral piece into a massive visual ballet thing is quite a self-indulgent thing to do. I think with the audience though, like one of the things that interests me for it as an audience is that in terms of making it as a piece of work, I think it's a very interconnected, like organizational, like project. So where, you know, you could use, the Halle Orchestra, or, basically you bring together these different organizations, and the same with like the dancers and stuff being more from like a contemporary world, or I don't know, I think.
So when you said ballet, are you thinking more of a contemporary ballet?
100%, yeah. And they're just the best. Contemporary dancers are the best.
They just seem to be able to do anything.
So I think it's also interesting when, I guess in a way, when you introduce like also a different art form into a different venue, like suddenly you have like a different, I mean, that's your, part of your job, right? You're introducing different pools of people into something. And I think something in that like collective experience, when it's also something that's rare and only going to happen once, is really, really special as well. So no, it's definitely not a project that would run for weeks or months. I think it'd be a one night only extravaganza.
But we'd pack it for the people.
Yeah, right.
Oh, it sounds great fun.
Yeah.
Is there any project that you're like, oh, I'd really like to go and do Mac and Mabel again? I'm guessing not.
Oh, I mean, there's loads of shows. Yeah. And that's the thing. I think it's that balance of also making sure that you get the right show at the right time. You never quite know what it's going to be, but also there's shows that I want to do that I know I'm not ready for yet. Like, I don't want those shows yet. It's like, I'd like that show to land in like 10 years time or in 5 years time or whatever. And I think it's not trying to accelerate that process too much. It's a balance, isn't it? Like, you want to be driven for things, but you don't want to, wish away the time, but also, I guess, making the most of the stage that you're at in terms of what you're learning and what you're able to give. And
I think it's also a really good piece of advice for anyone because I think in the industry we can be really like, oh, what's next, but like to just enjoy where you are and to soak everything up and to appreciate that, as you say, like, that's not a now project, that's a 5 years, 10 years, or even the fact that looking at what audiences are ready for. Because I often do that thing where I'm like, what is the audience appetite right now?
Yeah.
And like, that's really fascinating. I love it when you talk to directors and they're like, yeah, that's definitely not for an audience now, but that might be for then. Or even like, oh, we want that actor, but we can't have that actor yet. So that'll be when that actor's available.
That slots in. Yeah, and I think it's hard for buildings to respond to the current climate when you're having to program so far ahead. Yeah. I think that's something that's that's interesting. I mean, programming is a world that I haven't got into yet. It's something I'd love to do and something I find really, really interesting. But yeah, I think going back to what you were saying about appreciating where you're at, I think also one of the things I've realized as well is that it's like, you know, often like many people, you're consumed by that worry of like, am I in the right place? Am I far along enough? How is anyone going to program me? Yeah, how is someone going to give me a show? Like, how are those things going to happen? But then you also like, you look back to 5 years ago, you know, 5 years ago, actually, I was at the lighting desk and I was desperate to be doing the job I'm doing now. So I think it's helpful and healthy to have that acknowledgement that, and sometimes I find like, you know, even a couple of months ago, I was having a really, really bad day. And I was like, your bad day now was like past Lily's dream day. It's like, it's a really good problem to have. And also that thing of being like, actually, if I got everything that I asked for now, would I feel secure and happy? I don't know. Would I?
Yeah, that's true. Or would you just be bored? And you'd be like, oh, what's next?
I don't think I'd be bored.
But that is an incredible journey, actually, to think like 5 years ago you jumped to that, and you're so reliant on, you know, you're technically a freelancer.
Yeah.
And that is the other mad thing.
Oh, it's terrifying. It's so scary.
Like, this is my current role, but you don't necessarily attach, but you created so many great relationships over time of people that...
And I think that's the lovely thing, is that things always come out of something without you even knowing. Like that's part of the magic, really. And I think as well, like, you have different seasons as well. You have seasons where you're just like planting some seeds and you're like, yeah, I'm asking for the rights for all of these things. Like, is any of this going to come off? I don't know, you know.
And you don't know who's going to pick up the phone to you suddenly and be like, I've got a project, can you come and do it? And
exactly.
You're like, oh.
And I think like staying open to the possibility of it going well is something that I'm not very good at, because I think, and also I guess part of my job a lot of the time is to prepare for the worst and to prepare to like avoid disasters or whatever. So I'm a very good optimist for other people, for myself, not so much.
I'm going to bring it back to the bridge, as we are at the bridge.
We are at the bridge.
You've done obviously 3 amazing projects here, and also come as an audience member, which is also always fun.
Yeah.
Do you have any like highlights or like moments that have just always stayed with you about this building and the people or the work or any of it?
There's so many. I mean, it is, I feel so grateful to the building. Like genuinely really grateful, and so grateful to Nick as well with that. Because also like Nick gave me, I remember, you know, I hope it's okay to say, but like, I remember Nick asking me when he interviewed me for Guys and Dolls why I hadn't got a big musical on my CV, basically. And I said to him, I was like, well, like I haven't done one, so no one will give one to me, basically.
Yeah. I mean, that's such a big problem, isn't it?
It's a big problem. You can get stuck in a bit of a catch 22 with it. And I think, you know, he obviously like looked at what else I'd done and decided that actually I was qualified and I could do it. So that was a good moment. I feel like other highlights with the bridge, there are 2 that stand out. The first one is a bit of a rogue one, but I remember the first preview of Book of Dust when the real baby came out, and the audience went nuts.
I mean, that was such a mad thing to do, bring a baby on.
But the audience went wild for it. Like, I really remember that. And there was a bit of a lesson in that as well. It's like the liveness of that was just so incredible.
It was such a reveal as well, because did it come out of the crib? Yeah.
You know, I think that was really special.
And those babies were brilliant.
Incredible babies. There was one star baby.
There was one star baby. The star that did the NT Live.
Yeah, star baby.
And
I really enjoyed it when the babies had grown during the course of the run of the show, and one of them had learned how to sit up. So do you remember there was a scene where they're in the like nursery where they put all the boxes down, and then they were like, "Where's Lyra? Where's Lyra?" And Lyra like popped up.
Such a performing baby. I wonder where those babies are.
I know.
Because their babies are going to be like,
that should be a podcast. Where are they now? So that was one. And I think the other highlight...
Did you have to audition those babies?
I wasn't involved in that. I was going to say, I'm not the oracle on those babies.
Yeah, I remember them. I remember the auditions happening, and I remember being like, oh, there's auditions for babies.
I do remember, we had to tech the babies in. I remember that. The other highlight, which was just incredible, was the SITS probe for Guys and Dolls. I'll remember that forever. Like, that was incredible.
And a SITS probe, for those that don't know, because I remember hearing, what's the SITS probe?
What's the SITS probe?
Do you want to give it a little description of what it is?
The SITS probe is basically the first rehearsal that you have with the band or with the orchestra. And it's such a fun session. And that band just sounded incredible. I mean, you know, like Tom Brady is just a genius, you know, Charlie's orchestrations, you know, that was just such, it was such a massive moment. And it was just so joyful. I think that was the thing that I associate most with the bridge, and especially with that show, is that it was just joyful. And like when you say about what audiences needed, it's like, you know, Nick's a genius for many reasons, but we just come out of the pandemic and like people just needed a reason to feel good and a reason to smile. And I think that is also something that actually is important to remember with what we do, is that actually it's like the world is like pretty terrible right now. And actually, like, if you can give people like, you know, 2 hours to feel good and to hope and to, you know, escape and you know, like also like believe in the possibility of change, but also sometimes you just to sit there and even, you know, sometimes we all know, you know, you've sat and watched a show and you've gone like, oh, someone else understands how heartbreak feels or how this feels. And yeah, but no, Guys and Dolls was no heartbreak in Guys and Dolls, only joy. I mean, I cried a lot in Guys and Dolls, but I feel all of my, no, not in the making of Guys and Dolls, in watching it, because it was so good.
It was so good. Yeah. But I love those happy tears and things.
Oh, yeah.
I often get them though. You just get so overjoyed. Like you just cry with happiness.
Yeah.
And that theatre does that to me a lot.
But it's interesting. I think I feel all of my feelings whilst watching a show, basically. I feel like real life.
You keep it all down
100%.
And then suddenly like...
I'm like, let's put it in a drawer. Whereas like I watch a show and I'm like, that's I think why I hate shows. I probably shouldn't say this, probably oversharing. But like I really dislike audience participation because it makes me feel very uncomfortable.
She says doing an immersive ballet.
ballet. There's no participation.
Oh, okay.
You sign the contract that you get to sit in the dark. But I think also part of that is I think because like I feel all my feelings whilst watching a show, you know.
So yeah, if someone's coming up to you and doing,
I'm like, no, I'm crying in the corner over
Yeah.
Marisha Wallace singing A Person Could Develop a Cold Reprise, basically.
Bless her. I mean, what a moment. And I love that Sitzprobe was actually in the foyer, wasn't it? So you were in, I mean, it wasn't sadly not in the theatre because they were still building it, but the fact that you could be here and do that, because I don't think they always are they? They can be in like a rehearsal room.
Yeah, they can be wherever really. Yeah, there's a really nice picture of me and James dancing during the Havana section. I think Hetty took a picture, and yeah, it was joyful. I mean, and again, like it is genuinely one of those shows that I'll look back at for the rest of my life and feel grateful for, and also like a show where so many things changed for me personally because of that show. You know, it was a real sort of juncture.
Oh, and you were here because it was on for so long. It was a wonderful thing because you were always here.
I was always here
for 2 odd years, like 2 years.
I came back to do another show.
It was so nice.
I'll never leave.
Yeah, well, that's why you're here now. Part of the furniture now.
Yeah.
I mean, on that front, if you weren't here, if like your mum hadn't taken you to see King and I at the age of 4, if you hadn't had all that access, what in that sliding doors moment would Lily Dyble be doing now? Do you think?
I'd probably be very unhappy.
Those feelings would be so squashed.
Yeah, they would. There would be some squashed feelings. Well, I mean, it's such a hard question. I don't really know. I feel like I'd be, I don't know. But I think my backup career was always like to be a barrister or something like that. I'd probably be like a very aggressive, unhappy barrister.
Wow.
I don't know.
I love the idea of you as a barrister. I can't imagine it.
Really?
No.
Okay.
I think you've got too much empathy.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. There's a
I
side.
don't know. I'm sure barristers have lots
the
of
Mac
empathy.
and Mabel cast of Bristol 2018.
Yeah, they are like, yeah, we can see it.
We can see that.
The firm rules.
Yeah.
Right, black and white. Don't do that. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think so. But I'm glad that never happened. I mean, again, it was just that thing of like, I feel like I always was and still am fairly frightened of the career I'm sort of having. I feel very grateful for it. And again, it was like, I just feel really lucky to actually have had a mum that was just like, just try and be happy. Like basically just do something that's going to make you genuinely happy. And if it doesn't work out, that's okay. You'll find something else to do.
Gosh,
so yeah,
my parents said the same. It's weird, isn't it? How it's just like follow happiness and see where it lands. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to be like, just do something you love because that will.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And also that is the thing, sorry, probably the wrong point in the podcast to bring it up. But like, that is also the other thing that I think goes really unspoken about in theatre, is that it's financially incredibly difficult, you know, especially as a freelancer, especially, you know, when you're starting out and you're assisting and things like that. Like, you know, that's a really difficult thing. And I feel fearful that we're going to have an ecology where basically it's going to be the people who can afford to hang on. And that would be a disaster, you know. And as I said, like, I'm genuinely only doing what I'm doing because there were platforms early on that were like readily available for me because they didn't cost anything. Yeah. You know, I couldn't afford to do things like National Youth Theatre or whatever. Again, maybe don't put any of this in.
No, it's important. I think it's important because you want directors that are empathetic, and creatives generally that are empathetic to real people. So to have as much, how much diversity as we can to show those different stories, to have those different perceptions. Otherwise, we're going to make the same stories. We're going to show the same things. And I think your point is really valid.
But I also think it's important that it doesn't only fall to the theatre sector to address that. I think that's, and especially, you know, never have theatres been asked to do so much with so little. Yeah. And I think like the problem goes down so much. I mean, the problem really is in education. That's, you know, that's where it needs to shift and it needs to change. You know, like, you know, when I did A-level music, I was like the only person in the class. Like, I was so lucky that they still ran that course. I don't know if that course even exists now, you know. So I think it goes back, you know, a lot deeper. And I think, again, it's difficult for theatre to ensure it's, you know, for want of a better word, but like, you know, a diverse place. Yes. If fundamentally, like, the pathways that have led us to that point have not been available to everybody. You know, I think that's the thing, that's where the root of it is, really.
Yeah. No, I mean, I know you feel like, oh, this is quite a political statement to make, but I don't think you're saying anything that anyone would be surprised by. I think we all feel that quite a lot. And there are moments where, you know, you kind of feel hopeless as a single person saying it. So
yeah, and I think that's also why, you know, eventually, like, I'd love to be an artistic director for many reasons, but I also think like the scope of influence you have on any landscape as a freelancer is always going to be limited. You know, and I think it's also like the things that, you know, Nick Heitner and Nick Starr did for the National, you know, things like the £10 tickets, you know, and also NT Live, and also, you know, creating shows that gave, you know, financial viability to the building beyond their tenure, you know, shows like Curious Incident and Warhorse, you know, that are still going, you know. So I think that's part of it as well. And I hope those people also know what they have left behind. Again, like going back to the £10 tickets, like I wouldn't be doing my job were there not those tickets available, you know.
Also, if there are only £10 tickets available, you couldn't do your job because you couldn't
afford to eat. It's like a thing.
Like, balance.
And also that thing as well of like, actually, you know, we should be paying everybody incredibly well. It's like, why should the people who are at the, you know, the very top of that art form, you know, not be also financially recognised, you know, so, which I'm sure they are. But yeah. Anyway,
I mean, yeah, it's a mad old thing. We're not gonna be able to solve it right now.
You and I are not going to solve.
We'll keep solving
the financial viability of the art sector over a cup of tea on the stairs at the bridge. Maybe.
We'll keep trying. One day, me and yours.
Yeah.
Crack it, don't hold us to that. Well, that's quite a note to finish on.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I finished on. Should I talk about the baby again or something, like liven it back up?
Yeah. What other anecdotes have we got? No. Oh, it's been incredible. What a journey.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for having me. And again, like, I just feel so grateful. So many people have helped me, and I just always think that you can do the same for others at all stages of your career. So I hope I'm doing the same for other people. And, you know, I'm still very much at the start, so I don't know anything right now.
I often still do. I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
I mean, I know what I want to be. I'm terrified I won't get there, but I know.
Well, you'll get there. I know. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's it for this week's episode of the podcast. A massive thank you to Lily for her time and for sharing her stories. Please follow the show wherever you get your podcasts. If you're on YouTube, hit subscribe. It helps us find more people. If you want to find out more about the Bridge, visit bridgetheatre.co.uk. You can see what's on and maybe even buy a ticket. That's it for today. Join us next week for another episode.